about to get hit by a hurricane. Nathan, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all good over here, Launders. Thanks for looking out for me, though.
Get
Okay.
this guy off mic, okay? I thought this was just me and you. We're bringing in more people, and I feel like I'm
Since when do
becoming
you
less
get
and less.
input? Hold on a second. Wait, so where
Um,
where do you get off, sir?
I think that it's no secret that I've been taking over the podcast one episode at a time. I think people, may know this, the listeners. And Launders, I want to say publicly, enough with the DMs. Stop begging me to be on this fucking thing every week, okay?
I'm gonna have to
I
I'm
get
gonna
it.
have to ask you to like show these DMs. Like I normally don't do that. I wouldn't want you to publish our DMs
Yeah.
in this
Well,
circumstance. Like I think
unlike
people
you, I
need to
don't
see
leak
them.
DMs between you and me. I have
Okay.
something called dignity. So
Okay. Integrity, you mean?
integrity, whatever word you want to use, right? Don't correct me.
That's synonyms.
A regular podcast host wouldn't just like be so ready to just pounce on one wrong use
Listen,
of a word.
I'm not the regular pushover late night host who
What
just
do you
makes
mean?
fun of himself for the whole show. Oh,
What do you
you're an
mean?
actor? Wow, how do you do that? That's unbelievable. I
You're
could
talking
never
about
do
Jimmy
that. I'm
Fallon,
kind of an
aren't you?
idiot.
I mean, you
Seriously,
relate to these fucking idiots. Look, I trip on a banana just like you fuckers. Like, I'm not above that, man. If I get a late night spot, I'll take that shit, man. I mean,
So
you're
here
telling me you're an elitist?
so here we are with Squeex, the man who thinks that Avangar is gonna lose tomorrow. Squeex, where do you get off, sir?
Don't be delusional, okay? Let's not pretend. I don't know where everyone is fucking talking. Like the second today, like I think Thorne was saying that NRG is gonna win 2-1. Give me a fucking break. Astralis is so good.
They
Like they're on a
already
whole other
beat
tier.
them this
Yeah, but
major
look,
in a
dude,
best of three.
if you're like a puny pea brain, then maybe that makes sense. But like Astralis is playing four-dimensional chess. You know what I mean? Like they know when to really fucking lean in. And today they just showed that, What a fucking game on Train. It was like watching MLS players versus Manchester United. And it was embarrassing, honestly, for
Yeah, no,
NRG.
that train match was pretty. That was like supposed to be their map. It felt like Breeze didn't get any help. Did you watch the whole thing?
I watched the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad because it felt like Breeze was working so hard in that second map, and he is getting absolutely no help whatsoever.
Yeah.
Uh,
And Tarek, dude. What a fucking showing. And like, especially in the beginning of the first half.
well,
Like
here's
he
the thing,
was
right?
killing
Like
it.
Tarek has been here before, and actually, um, there's two people on the team, or is it just Tarek? Well, Stanislaus won E League. Tarek's
Mhm.
won a major. Breeze, Cirque, Ethan are all like scared to be in this situation, you would think, right?
Yeah. Oh, for
So
sure.
like credit to kudos to Breeze because he was so good. But Cirque was clearly nervous in spots. Ethan, I don't know, Ethan and Stanislaw both had pretty bad games. Tarek was like the clutch master for most of the major.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like you let them go at it again, and it comes down to nerves, right? There's no difference between this major best of three versus Straws and then the last time they played, apart from the fact that they're in the arena with like, okay, it didn't actually look like there was that many people there.
I feel like they did a bad job with capturing the vibe. You know what I mean? Like,
Sometimes they had to do like very close ups, right, to make it look
yeah,
packed. It felt like there was not a lot of people at the major. I know how hard it is to sell tickets sometimes. I think some tournament organizers think that they're going to sell all of the tickets to like these 20,000 person venues just because a million people are watching at home. But
hmm
that's not always the case. And then you end up with like very empty venues. It happened to Face It before. It happened in DreamHack Las Vegas, if you remember that. And it makes for a very awkward situation where as you're for the tournament organizer, maybe they don't really care that much about how much money is made from the ticket sales. That might be the
right.
last priority for them. But when it comes to like what it looks like on the stream, what it sounds like at home, that's all that stuff sounds really bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, that being said, I feel like the crowd this fucking major is insane. Like, I feel like it's just wild. When I think before the match, they were showing like the stands or whatever, and it was funny because I failed the wave, but it was
Mhm.
so like rowdy. It was so fucking rowdy, which I love. I love like the thuggishness of like CS fans. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. You have a point. The fans are really good. I think yesterday and the day before, the audience didn't look as packed. Today it was a lot better. But even during the Vitality match, they actually had it was I think 60 buses. Did you hear about this? They had
no.
Vitality had paid for 60 buses of fans from Paris to drive out to the major to cheer on Vitality. Uh, and then they lost, but like it's still pretty
That's
sick,
sad.
right? Yeah, that's
That's sick.
facts.
It's sad.
The
Imagine being in
long
that
ride
bus.
home, brother.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. But what can you do, dude? That's the game doesn't care about romance. You know, you either win or you don't. Which is,
Yeah.
I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like CS now, especially in this major, there's more commotion. Like there's more people talking about it than I think I remember, except maybe the Cloud9 summer. But there
I
seems to be a lot of buzz going on right now on Twitter and stuff.
I agree. I think partially because we have such a great CS Twitter, like Don Hackey and like all of these other guys that kind of are just like making all these memes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh, Moose, Andy, Tay, like a lot of these guys, they're fucking hilarious, and they're making it fun to be on Twitter, whether or not you actually care about watching the games as much, and they keep you interested in going to check out the games when they're tweeting about it. And I really think that like I think some corporate bigwig would call it like micro influencing, but basically
sure.
them that those people are more impactful than some others who have like giant followings or even players who aren't good at Twitter, and they make it fun to be a part of CS just for the memes. So I think that's actually a huge part of it. And yeah, I think we're just I think we're really lucky because I think what you're saying is true, and I think it's because of that.
Yeah, mate. I mean, it's funny because even like I fucking hate Twitter, like historically, but even I'm checking like the CS:GO like tweets and shit, man. I follow Don
It's
Hatchie or
funny,
whatever.
right?
It's hilarious. They're killing
Yeah.
it, man. And now there's like media behind CS, which never existed besides like HLTV forums. You know, I feel like
Mhm.
it's interesting time to be paying attention to CS because I still feel like in its infancy and it has still a lot of growth, but dude, it's fucking exciting. I'm pretty pumped to see where CS goes, and I'm glad that like a major like this just sort of reinvigorates my interest in CS, which wanes. You know, I don't have CS as my career, but I feel like every time a major comes up, like I get very excited, and it makes me want to play again, and I think that's all good signs.
I think a lot of people thought this was gonna be the worst major of all time before it started,
Yeah. I mean, like we were
because
talking about it too, man. Like we were saying, like, I think that we on the podcast have voiced like some concern, like pretty much about Counter-Strike State. But each time I feel like I'm proved wrong. With each like big tournament, I'm like, oh wait, the game is so fun and it's still getting a lot of excitement.
there were some majors I remember. I think I'm the perfect case study because I watch every major and like I work in the game and stuff. But as the years roll on, there's always periods where I'm like, oh fuck, like this game came out and player base shrunk a little bit and viewers not we're not breaking records like we used to or whatever. And then it
Hmm.
bounces it obviously comes in waves. But like I feel like with this major, I wasn't even concerned with how many people were watching. I just felt like the show was really good, and it felt like people were having so much fun on all the places that I would like look to see people's commentary, like Twitter or mostly Twitter, basically.
Sure.
And so I wasn't even thinking about like how cool are we or like how popular are we. It didn't actually matter to me, which I was kind of refreshing for myself. I appreciated that, and I genuinely just wanted to watch just for the sake of watching. But yeah, you, anyone else who's been around for 10 plus years, like obviously we're gonna get a little bit bored once in a while with the amount of tournaments going on. But it's always great when you know you can come and watch the major, and the major's always gonna do it for you like it did the first time.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, I feel like a lot of people now, a lot of maybe business side of esports, they look at viewership as like such a key metric of success that what happens a lot of the time is like what's more important is sustainability. Like games that are popular for like Fortnite for a smaller amount of time haven't gone through the trials that Counter-Strike has simply because it hasn't been around for as long. And so I think sustainability is super important, viewership aside, and the fact that the major proves that it can sort of have this halo effect around players who want to engage with Counter-Strike is proof to me that CS is going to be around for a long period of time because the major still has that ability years and years later in this like old formula, which I think is
Hmm.
a good thing. But
Do you think a player should make more money from majors? Like, we happen right after TI, and TI they make like $3 million a player first play, like per player for first place, and like $1 million for the teams that come in like 10th or something, like something crazy.
yeah,
Uh, Do you think it like in general players should make more money for the size of the game?
That's just such a deep question because my gut reaction is yes, but I've heard some really good arguments against having like a top heavy because I know like TI is ridiculous, right? Like I feel like the whole scene, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole scene of Dota is revolved around TI. Like these guys are making an insane amount of money in one big tournament.
It's
So I
the
don't know if it
capstone tournament, and it
right.
shaped the other tournaments. There are still the funny part is they also have like 4 other majors that are Valve sponsored in the year, and then they have minors for those majors, and then they have like all the other tournaments as well. So that's kind of like a little bit of a middle finger,
Sure.
a little flip flop to the head. You know what I mean? To Gaben, but yeah, but like everything else is it's kind of the volcano that comes up within the Dota 2 world where everything is just built around it.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's necessarily a bad thing, as some people would say, but I just think that players should get more money in general. And it's actually shocking to me that I've seen on Twitter recently that a lot of personalities are saying players' contracts should be adjusted to get less money because I feel like that's the exact opposite of the way I would pursue it from a business side. Because the number one asset for orgs and tournament organizers are the players. Like, I don't even understand the argument against paying players like even more because they are literally generating almost all of the profit for tournaments because they're what drives your viewership and for organizations. Like, if anything, if I'm running an org right now, I would try to leverage my players even more, like using their personality. I think a good case study of this, which was like all of the I would call like an accidental marketing scheme, was the summer of Cloud9. Like I feel
Mhm.
like at that point, all 5C9 players were leveraging their social influence and leveraging Snapchat, leveraging all of these different mechanisms, which got so many people interested in Cloud9, right? Regardless of tournament results, Cloud9 was very like successful in terms of just generating buzz. And I feel like if I was an org, that was going to be my priority in terms of making money is like, how am I going to leverage these players who are outspoken, who are personalities, because they have a potential to get way like much more eyes on my organization.
Yeah,
And
there's
that's like
obviously different strategies for that. Like you have like Ents who leverage Finland. So it's like no matter how good Ents are, them winning everything is a bonus. But no matter what, every Finnish kid who comes up plays Counter Strike is going to buy an Ents jersey before like a Cloud9 jersey, right? And that's
sure.
like a nice way to leverage. And then another thing for Cloud9 is they've always had a lucky balance between popular players like even unlikely popular players like Skadoodle, who's quiet, people, ends up being very likable and also is good and fun to watch and stuff. And then they have like Shroud, they have him, they have nothing, they have I can't even Sean Garris. They've had like kind of a lot of players who either look good on camera, who have personality, who are funny, who are great at streaming, and then they also got themselves a major. And that might have been a flash in the pan, but it definitely is an important thing to think about. And I agree with that. But what would you say if you found out it was true that that organizations outside of like Cloud9 who will be profitable with or without a CS team are not making money from their CS team?
So you mean like their CS team isn't winning? Do you mean by
Well,
like the
no, if an organization that's
yeah.
like, let's say they're predominantly CS, they're not profitable, and it's because Counter Strike costs too much. Would you
Sure.
believe
Okay.
that? Or I mean,
I
because
don't believe that. I
there
don't
was
actually believe
the crazy the org owner for Crazy said that nobody in Counter Strike, or it was Vitality or whatever, it said
that.
nobody in
Mhm.
Counter Strike is making money from their teams.
Yeah. Okay. So this is why. So this is, I think I had read that transcript or whatever, like the tweet longer from that conversation, and I was
The
like,
most professional way to release
I
business
know,
news about your teams.
dude. I was
Everybody keep it
fucking
up. Keep up the great work, guys.
yeah, really great press release there, guys. Like just, I was like seething at the mouth. I thought it was the stupidest shit I've ever read. And no offense, like I just think it was so
Wait,
like
you hate French people? Go
no,
ahead.
no, whoa. I love French people. We. I'm saying, like, okay, yes, but think of it from a business standpoint, like an investor standpoint. Right now, organizations are basically a company that shifts money from investors. So the way I understand it is like investors hand out money to organizations, and organizations hand that money to pay for salaries and pay for talent. And then for all the winnings or all the sponsorships, they're basically taking that money back and paying back the large initial investment. And so they're basically a company that's just handing money left and right. It's like the shittiest fucking relay race you've ever seen, where people are just handing batons back and forth.
The most
And
uncomfortable, highest responsibility middleman of all time, right?
yeah, exactly. And like these guys have to sell on things that are like brand, you know, which a lot of organizations don't do well. I think there's obvious exceptions. Like I think 100 Thieves is really good at that, where they're making different forms of revenue or leveraging their players in a very interesting way and bringing in streamers in an interesting way. But I think there are a lot of orgs that don't quite understand what they're sort of caught in the middle, you know? And so I think most of them are not making money because they haven't found other profit stream. Like they haven't found other ways to make revenue.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Like that's the
Like,
reason.
it's your fucking fault.
It is their fault. Exactly. It's like, you're not creative. I'm sorry, but that's the real thing is you're just not creative in making money.
We aren't out here handing out sticker stars, okay, with the real money on the line. Okay.
Yeah. But look at like Madden, look at the NFL, look at all these people. Like these teams found their foothold in selling jerseys and selling merchandise. Like the teams, the orgs that are on top of their shit, they're taking notes. Like if you can't sell a t-shirt, fuck you. Like your org isn't recognizable. Then build your brand like the rest of the people. You know,
I think Boxer's going to be like that org. You know what I mean? Like the organization to lead the organization revolution. That's going to.
Dude.
It's going to be like the industrial revolution of esports organizations.
Holy shit!
Right?
You're branding it, dude.
Everybody, yeah. So everybody's going to be following in our footsteps, and they're like, "Damn, I didn't realize it was this easy to make money." Right?
Okay, so you're memeing, but I'm telling you, like,
man, I'm saying like, aren't you saying that basically, if it's true that no one's making money, or like besides like Cloud9 with other games and 100 Thieves, you know, they're doing it because they're doing a good job of leveraging their players, but there's so many people that just don't understand why that's important, and there might be someone who comes along, does it so fucking well, right, that they make a ton of money, and then everyone goes, holy shit, and then they copy parts of their formula, and then everybody is kind of now like, it kind of raises the tide for everybody.
I call it the Casey Neistat effect, where a bunch of shitty fucking content creators before Casey Neistat make shitty vlogs that are
It's the Drake effect, okay? When I used to rap, holy shit. When I used to rap in high school, and then Drake started becoming popular, everybody rapped like Drake. Everybody sounded exactly like him. But the thing is, it made everybody like 20% better because everyone was just complete trash. And he gave everyone a way to just sound like at least decent, even if they sounded exactly like Drake. But then from there, you know, you can help yourself out. Yeah. But at least you sound okay, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And in terms of like esports and orgs, like you have to find a way to make money. Like you have to be profitable. If I was an investor, which I, by the way, think the investors are even worse than the organizations because they're just handing money and they're the guys who are like, video gamers, huh? Like I hear this Fortnite phenomenon is going on. Like these are those guys out of touch. Okay. So they're just handing out money because they want a piece of this action, hoping that it's going to be profitable in the next like 5 years without a real plan. Like I know people like this. So they just don't understand. Like it's like people who are like, oh, like I heard this guy's like, oh, I'm going to invest in weed because I know people like weed. And I'm just going to put my money on it because I know that. It's like, well, you're not doing the math, man. You don't know how much it makes it cost. You don't. So it's like that sort of effect where it kind of hurts the industry when you have too much money flowing through it.
Well, let me stop you there. So that's like a perfect example, right? So the product is great. Weed is awesome. Everyone likes it. Donuts taste great. You know, there's no reason. Music sounds better. Like, why wouldn't you love weed? So there it is. You got the product. That's simple. But then that if you think only that far, then you're not going to beat everyone else who realizes that weed is good, right? So then you're competing against other people. So that's exactly the fork in the road for these esports orgs is, oh, you can put the money in, buy a team. But if you're not any different from the next team, you got marginally better results in some way. I mean, is that the best way to make your players popular?
Yeah, absolutely fucking not, dude. Dude, I'm telling you, I want to ruin this fucking industry, okay? I'm going to make the shittiest team be the most marketable. A team of fucking PewDiePies, okay? Line up, fellas. PewDiePie, Ninja, Drake,
Whoa,
T.
you trying to get banned on Twitch or what?
Oh yeah, you're right. As long as he stays away from the bridges, I'm fine with that, man.
Yeah, it doesn't burn any bridges, right? That's what
That's
we're
right.
talking.
Don't burn any bridges, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? PewDiePie might be the guest next week, and we'll replace you. But I'm just saying that, like, if I was a fucking organized, or like, this is really shitty advice, and I'm sure there's things away from it. But if I was an org today, I would get the most fucking marketable, the people with the largest reach, because right, I don't care about winning as much as I care about getting conversation started and getting buzz. You know, I think Dick Stacy is like amazing because I know Dick Stacy, who's not on a tier 1 team, but he's really fucking funny and he's a personality. And I'm going to leverage the shit out of that, you know?
Okay, here's a problem though. Okay. Where do you stand on, oh, let's say you're playing, you're playing intermediate right now on ESCA?
No, I'm not. I don't play. I got cut.
What?
So
Weren't you playing with the OGC? You actually got cut?
no, I didn't get cut. I just didn't have time to meet the games. And so
Oh,
we
it was
stopped.
mutual, huh?
It was me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't make it seem like now that I'm on camera, you know, I can't lie so easily. No, it was mutual though. I didn't have time to make the game. So stop. Take it away, Nathan. Turn on this camera.
Okay. So what if you had an org come in and they wanted to sponsor you, and then they were like, "All right, we're going to sponsor you. Sign this contract." And then the contract says, like, whatever, you make as much money as you want, but then the contract's like, well, we also get to make whatever roster changes we want. So then you know, like, you don't know the intentions of the org to turn your team, your very serious competitive IM team, into a meme team.
Yeah.
Right? Who are just has very popular players. But then all of a sudden, you've just got like Counter-Strike memers from Twitter on your team in IM, and you're losing every match. Isn't that kind of fucked up? I mean, that
It's
can
fucked
happen.
up.
But that's
It
kind of
can happen.
what you're saying, right? Like,
So here's what I'm saying. Okay. If I was an organization who was approaching the meme team, I would first get a really good. So I'm so fucking contrarian. I know everyone's going to flame me for it, but I think long-term team contracts, not necessarily like Virtus Pro status, but I'm talking like a year or two, locking in players is actually could be very beneficial. Because not only can it develop talent or whatever, I think it adds a sense of security to the players where they feel.
Sorry, you're saying, how long are the contracts?
Like 1 or 2 years solid, you know, like we're not cutting anybody.
That seems pretty normal, right?
It does seem normal, but I feel like a lot of shuffling that happens, like breaking of contract or whatever. I feel like there's a lot of gray area in these esports contracts right now. But
yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about like some people get signed for like 4 or 5 years versus like 1-year contracts, which are totally cool.
oh no, that's interesting. I didn't even think about like variable contracts. I mean, I would sign everyone on the same length. And then I would try to find a way that I, as an org, make money off of their following, and while I'm giving them more followers using my brand name, so it becomes the ultimate offline TV brand. Like it becomes the ultimate, like we all make money if one person does really well. You know, it's like throwing 100 darts out there because Twitch and Snapchat and all this shit is unpredictable at the end of the day.
Operation Snake and Ninja. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying is like, I hope one of you turn into a ninja, and I'm going to do everything I can to make you guys that popular. And like, yeah, win the games and get obviously whatever. But the real money comes from the sponsorships. The real money comes from fucking leveraging your Instagram accounts and all of that shit. And I want to find a way to make money as an org with you guys doing that, right? So I think that's priority number 1.
So then I like it. I like it all. So isn't it true then that orgs are or should be talent agencies more than team owners? Like in some sense, they're basically trying to get each individual the most out of each individual. And then all they're doing with the Counter-Strike stuff is giving them money, like a facility to practice in, flights, a manager to book flights. And apart from that, I mean, that's just to get them to go and do what they want to do. But that's not, but you can't do much more about that, like their performance. You just you pay for stuff. Apart from that, where you actually make the most amount of money is by leveraging your creativity and the people that are creative in your company to bring out the personalities of the people that you're sign
I
in
think that's
to
a
the
fucking
team.
great idea, dude. Making it a talent agency
A
is
talent agency.
ingenious. Is ingenious because I think players are getting really, really smart because they realize actually how capable they are of starting an org or what they have to do for an org. But if you just hired a team or hired an org to schedule all of your interviews, do all of the PR and all of that shit, there's a huge value add there. But I feel like orgs now are overstepping a little bit where they're like trying to do too much and they accomplish nothing for the players or very little.
Do you think it's cool to go back to allowing orgs to make roster changes? Do you think it's cool that orgs can make roster changes to a team? At this point, when you're getting paid 15 to 20 to $30,000 a month, orgs can make roster changes. That's understandable. Like they're
Mhm.
paying you a lot of money, right? And then you get a bench salary, of course, everything like that, which is good, at least most of the time. But do you think it's cool in general that orgs can make roster changes? Do you see any problems with that? Like,
Is it
would you
cool?
would you if you were to make a team and pay them a lot of money, would you think that making the best team means I've got to give my captain the ability to cut and replace players, or does that mean you, as the owner of the owner of a company, ultimately can make the decision about who we sign and who we cut and who we trade?
I think it's ultimately up to the org. I know like there's a clause.
Oh, I
I
mean,
think it's
in
a
Astralis, Zonic has all the power, for example.
Oh, right. Okay, so that makes
They
sense.
gave
But
him
Astralis is a
all the
unique case,
power.
right? Isn't Astralis a very unique case? Because they were like an org that was
They're a
built by.
unique case in the sense that they're pretty much the best example of a team right now. Like,
Yeah.
so that's good. Like, like that's kind of a good reason you want to be like them as opposed to like say, oh, they're kind of an outlier. And I guess the only thing that makes them very special is like I would personally trust Zonic to make roster decisions, but I'm not sure I would trust all coaches to do that.
No, I don't think so. But I think the question in this context, I think I'd want the org to do it because the org is the one who's paying the paycheck, and the org's goal may be an ugly sentence, but the org's goal isn't to necessarily win a tournament. It's to make the most amount of money from these players, right? Like
Mhm. Okay, so what if
regardless. So
you Squeex signed a Fortnite roster?
mhm.
You don't know anything about Fortnite. No
Rude and true.
offense. I know you take pride in it. That's the only reason I say it that way.
Just wait, I'm gonna start pawning pretty soon here, man.
Yeah, don't start flossing on these guys. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's say you sign a Fortnite team because you had a Counter-Strike team, Counter-Strike team's doing well, you moved to Fortnite. So now you have a Fortnite team you don't know anything about. You still want to have power over it just because you don't know if you can trust the players themselves. But do
It's
you think you can make a better decision than the players as to who's going to make the best team?
okay, so it's not okay. So this is where it gets weird. So I think it's important to distinguish two incentive systems. So the players want to win, right? The players want to win the tournament because they've been practicing their whole life and they want to be satisfied there. Me as an
Mhm.
org owner who just bought Fortnite wants to make the most amount of money. If the most amount of money means cutting someone who's talented and getting someone who has more potential to get money for me, like larger social following, I'll fucking do that. Like as an org, it's like I'm not gonna listen. Maybe I'll take their perspective into consideration,
Mhm.
but you have to remember, like it's an ugly truth. But the players probably want to win more than the organizations themselves because the one piece of friction is that orgs are there to get as much money as they can, right?
Mhm.
Regardless. And if that means winning tournaments, then they're going to get the best roster possible. But if that means getting sponsorship deals or getting something else, the minute you say something questionable, social media wise or whatever,
Mhm.
they're getting their ass cut, right? Regardless of their skill, because that's cutting into my revenue. And I don't want that shit, right? I don't
I'd love
know.
to
So,
talk about like what's crossing the line in terms of what you can say, but I feel like that's not a good conversation to have on Twitch
no, no, I don't want to get in trouble.
or anywhere really publicly, but
But like,
like,
what? It's
yeah.
so fucking stupid that you can't have it's like certain words or something without any context are like no nos, but you can't have an honest conversation about that shit. I feel like
Mhm.
that's my one. I don't want to get too far into this rabbit hole, but I think
Talk
that's
to him. Talk to him, Squeaks. Talk to him.
listen, listen, Twitch, you fucking idiots. No, I'm
As
just
I sip my white claw.
yeah.
Listen.
As I have my shit coffee or whatever. No,
What's shit coffee?
don't. You're just trying to turn everyone against me, Launders.
I just want to make sure that whatever you say from here on out is recorded in a place that we can easily find an archive. Go
Okay,
ahead.
listen. Okay, you guys are cool, right? The ones listening at home and people in Twitch chat, you guys are all cool, right? So be a little open-minded as I explain. This type of coffee that I bought. It's called Kopi Luwak. It's a delicacy, okay? So it's basically coffee beans.
I shouldn't have laughed. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't laugh. It's coffee beans that a cat eats and then shits out the bean. And through the digestive system, like it ferments the bean in a certain way that it brings out more flavor.
Wait,
So
no. Why are you
okay, hold on.
trolling, man?
No. Don't let me
just tell
finish.
him
No. Don't interrupt because it sounds like I'm eating shit now. They clean the shit. Okay. So so the bean comes out it passes through the cat. Okay. We're gentlemen here. It passes through the cat and they clean that shit and then they make a very nice coffee.
Okay, man.
Okay, I'm not eating poo-poo. I'm not eating poop. Okay. I want to get that on record. It's a delicacy. Okay. You'd be down to eat that, right?
I would never get caught dead eating shit. Okay.
You're such a little fucker, dude. Literally, you're such a little fucker. It's good. It's okay. Listen, and I was asking my chat this earlier, like if the best meal came out of was shit, but it looked like shit, but it didn't have anything really gross, you wouldn't eat. Like it tastes really good and has no side effects, and it's sanitary.
Squeex right now, a picture. Okay, let's go back to the 1600s. You've got like the jester in the middle of the town,
Yeah.
trying to make everyone laugh. But then you have also the guy who runs out in his loincloth with no shirt on in the winter, screaming about this new invention that he found out about. It's this revolutionary food, comes out of a cat's ass after they ate it, and basically doesn't even have any nutritional value, just makes coffee taste a little bit better. This is what he's telling everybody that they need to start drinking. That's what you sound like right now.
So, okay, it's good. That's all I'm gonna say. And I got it as like a gift, very cheap. So what can you do? And it's so funny because we're doing this live for those listening at home. And
They should have done. They should have left it on your doorstep. That's the classic.
That's just rude. This guy in chat, Zutter, just says, "I'm out of here." Right when we started talking about it, he's gone. That's an F for Zutter. He's like, "Yep, they're talking about shit. There's only so much I can take, and I'm out." Imagine doing this and explaining shit coffee and seeing that comment. It just totally is deflating. What can you do? But I think everyone in chat should be open-minded and try it. It's a delicacy. So
why? So if I told everyone that you're from Portland, it would all make sense. But let's just assume that like people in other places that were tried a little bit less hard to be hipster would also have this shit coffee. What is there actually nutritional value to it, or is it just like better coffee or stronger, or what is?
It's good, dude. It tastes better. Apparently I haven't had it yet, but after this fucking podcast, I'm going to my friend's house, bringing over some shit coffee, and we're all gonna brew some poo, and it's gonna be great. It just tastes good. It's like it's like, can you explain eggs? It's the same shit. It's like a fetus. It's kind of weird. No, you can't. So I don't think so. Go ahead.
Is that what it says on the box? There's no point on the box.
No, you know what is worrying though? On the box, the nutritional value is all in Chinese. I'm not even shitting. So I'm actually a little bit worried about it because I don't know what it says it's shit coffee, but it's all in Chinese. So I'll be fine.
Speaking of activism, do you remember when they used to have the Facebook posts of people who would post these cats in China that they'd put into glass jars, and then they let them like die, and then the skeleton like imprint would be like in the glass, and they'd sell those? You want to talk about delicacies?
Who the fuck are you following on Instagram?
No,
dude?
That was like on Facebook. It was like when we were younger, like everyone always post that.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Would it be like, oh, stop this from happening in China?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's
the same cat.
Yeah,
it's the same
clubbing,
cat.
Clubbing babies, the same cat. Well, hopefully, right? Because then at least they got more value out of it.
Oh, that's kind of
There's
fucked
probably
up.
some cat that's like in a farm in China that's like, why does my shit always go missing? Right? That just has questions, but isn't it
Yeah.
actually in danger? It's still confusing life.
Yeah, go ahead. So you're advocating for animal abuse. Go ahead, Launders.
No, I'm trying to take a utilitarian approach here and just say, like, if these cats
Utilitarian. All right,
are
relax,
going,
Mal.
if these cats are goners, then you might as well be eating their shit. That's all I'm saying.
That's you're very noble, Launders. Then you're telling people to eat cat shit. So good for you. I'm glad we've really reached all topics of this podcast, from the major to cat shit. I think.
With nothing in between.
No, nothing in between. All the way, man. Would you ever try foods like? I feel like you're adventurous. You wouldn't ever go for something like that. Like I think we're cut from the same cloth in terms of trying new foods and what people eat. Like I remember in the podcast you were saying you had some weird ass meat before.
Yeah, I don't, I don't want to be compared to you in any way, but I will say I'm pretty
Yeah, you'd
adventurous.
be lucky.
You'd
Go
be
ahead.
lucky, kid. Hey, I've eaten some cool. I've eaten like live stuff, like live squid and stuff, and like eel and I had eel and cactus in Moscow.
How is that any different? The fact that you ate a live animal, how's that any different? How is nobody
Well,
freaking out
it's
about
not like
that?
alive, but like
Like you killed it with your teeth.
the neurons are still firing off a little bit, but it's no big
Oh
deal.
my god, it adds taste. You're Cruella de Vil.
I don't, and you can
Look at you.
sometimes,
You're foaming at the mouth. You're getting
yes,
hungry.
I do it again. But then, sometimes the suction cups, like people die because the suction cups are still working. So then they'll
Ew,
like
dude,
swallow it, and
stop.
then the suction cup. There's a
It
scene
like
from
grabs
Old
onto their
Boy.
throat.
Yeah, you can feel it on your tongue when you eat that. It's kind of interesting. There's one video recently of a chick in Japan who's eating like a frog leg, and literally the leg jumped off the plate. I'm not even kidding. It was
That
insane.
is fucking gross,
Yeah.
dude. That is
So
actually disgusting.
nature is scary for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty adventurous. I've
So
had like an
you would have
enlarged
poop
goose
coffee.
liver, and yeah, I definitely try it. Yeah, I definitely try it. I have nothing against
We
it.
got him, boys. We got him. Just like
I'm
so. Listen, that's a point for me. And then next we're gonna have Launders try White Claw
yeah,
because that shit's also
can't think of
fucking.
anything scarier and weirder than that.
You'd each so you're. It took us how many episodes for you to even have cauliflower pizza, and you're so willing to drink poo brew, for lack of a better term. And it took you
Oh,
a few fucking episodes.
honestly, the way that you've described the cat poop, I'd say makes it sound eclectic, but but like White Claw and cauliflower pizza just seems like some hipster bullshit, I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
Okay, rude. So here's some backstory as well. So I was talking to Launders about cauliflower pizza on Twitter like a while ago, and this company reached out and was like, "Oh my god, we're glad you love cauliflower pizza. Do you want like here's a free pizza?" And so I had like a coupon code or whatever for a free pizza, and I offered it to Launders, and he said, "Give me a fucking break, no way." So I gave it to someone else, but I so badly wanted a sponsorship on this podcast to be cauliflower fucking pizza, just to hear Launders in his voice promote cauliflower pizza. Like, see how much, like, if we got an offer, Launders, to promote cauliflower pizza, would you take that? Of course you would.
Well, here's the thing, right? I'm the Joe Rogan of the podcast, and you're just the guest that I can't find a new one. So if you listen to him on the UFC, he never reads sponsor call outs. Unfortunately, that'd be your job. But yes, I would accept the money. Is that your question?
No, you see, you're just too, you can't come down from your throne and admit that you would have to be on the podcast saying, "Hey, what's up, guys? This episode brought to you by cauliflower pizza."
Hey, listen, we'll turn off the cams. You sound just like me.
Yeah, that's true. But
So how's your week,
oh,
Squeex?
dude, it was fucking great. I went traveling. I went to the East Coast. Went to DC, Virginia, New York, the
Whoa.
trifecta in 6 days, and I did so much. And then like
Whoa.
I think I realized that I'm not very good at taking vacations because literally I jam packed my entire fucking 6 days with like a million things. Like I saw like a
Oh
ton of
yeah.
museums. I felt like I had like a checklist of things to do, but it
Mhm.
was so fun, man. East Coast is actually amazing in the US. I think it's
Hold
like
on.
so pretty.
It's not your first time on the East Coast, though, right?
No, it's not. But it's been a while for me.
Yeah. Okay. So like when you're like in your adult years or whatever.
Yeah, because I haven't like traveled very like a lot recently because of work, but I fucking love the East Coast, man. I can see myself there at some point for sure.
Oh, interesting. A little foreshadowing going on here on the
Mm,
podcast.
I ain't saying shit, dude. I'm not gonna release my fucking news on
We've
this
got
thing.
video now. The face says it all. The face
No,
says
no,
it all.
no. I'm blushing if I could, but no, I don't. No, not quite, not yet. We'll
So
see. Stay tuned for more.
So the for the people who don't know, the East Coast, the buildings are a lot taller and closer together, and there's more people in the streets. And in New York, people dress pretty well, and it's that hustle and bustle you always hear about. I'm sure you've seen movies where they've shot scenes in New York. That's pretty much exactly how it feels. On the West Coast, it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more spread out. I'd say. I don't know about like Portland and stuff like that, but definitely
Mhm.
down
Yeah.
the south
I
a
mean,
bit.
it's totally different, right? It's like it's almost a different country, which is kind of crazy. Just the
It
culture
is,
and
yeah.
everything is fucking wild. But I think there's a charm to West Coast culture, but there's a total different charm to East Coast culture. But I just don't think like living in New York seems very exhausting. You know,
Yeah,
especially
like
in Manhattan.
you burn more gas in traffic than on the highway, right? Well,
Yeah,
no, that's necessarily true, but you waste more gas. So
sure.
it's kind of the same thing. Like you're like getting from point A to B in New York with I don't even know how many people are in New York.
Like
Uh,
a shit ton.
I don't even know.
Did you
Yeah,
know there's
so
more rats in New York than people in the United States?
why are you just making things up on
I
the
swear to
podcast?
God. I swear to God. Isn't that fucking disgusting? Like all under the ground and shit.
There's
It's
more
wild.
than 300 million rats in New York.
Yeah.
Do they
Look it
go
up.
and
We're live. Look it
You
up,
know
man.
what
I'm
I
telling
would
you.
like? You know what I would like to know? We've got Nathan to look it up now.
I don't
Yeah,
think he
Jamie, pull that up.
Jamie.
Oh, we don't
Oh
have feature.
shit.
Okay, all
He
right.
talks. Stay
uh,
tuned. Nobody look it up, okay? No one in chat call me out. All right, listen.
you know what I wonder? Like,
What?
how do these rats sign? How do these rats contribute to these consensuses? Like,
What do you mean? They're not,
how they are
dude.
they polling? Like, do they
Stop.
just get a
There's no
sample size?
census. It's their science behind it,
Do
bro.
they speak to them through augmented reality, or what? Like, what's the
Yeah, I
deal?
don't know. I
How
think
do
they do
they?
some sort of science shit. They do like per capita and then they measure that out and then they do some averages, you know? It's like how they do science, you know what I mean? They're not asking a tree how long it takes to grow. They're doing measuring and shit, you know what I mean?
No, okay, listen. There are more rats than people in New York, not in the US.
Okay, don't read fucking. Okay,
That's
that's
such a
true.
big difference.
Okay, that's fine, but it's still a lot of
You
rats at the
actually
bottom of the day. At
conflated
the end of the
33
day,
million people with 300 million
at the end
people.
of the day, it's a lot of fucking rats, okay? We got a rat
Eh,
right
and
here,
what have we
man.
learned? It's a big number.
It's a big number. That's right.
I would be that kind of teacher in school, I think.
Yeah, like the one who's still flossing and like
No
telling
matter what. I wouldn't come in prepared, but I'd just be ready to shut people down. And what have we learned?
teach them a real lesson, you know? Your
And don't
opinion
you
doesn't
forget
matter.
it. They tell me something to correct me, and don't you forget it.
Oh god. You'd scare the shit out of me as a teacher.
Why does he sound Italian?
Is he doing a bit? Is he making fun of me?
Have you seen The
Oh,
Sopranos?
no, fuck. You've given me that recommendation though, but
It's
what
more
can
than a
you
recommendation, man. It's only the greatest TV show I've
Yeah,
ever
well,
aired.
dude, you're apparently gonna watch Game of Thrones soon. I don't want to go down that fucking rabbit hole, but Nathan, go flash back to 7 podcast episodes
We don't
right
have
now.
that functionality. We don't
Nathan,
have
go
it.
ahead and flash back to when Launders was
It's out of
saying,
our
"Oh,
scope. We just
I'm
don't
gonna
have.
finish Game of Thrones. I'm gonna finish Game of Thrones by next week."
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
And you're listening to him. He's the champion of this podcast. Give me a break.
Yeah, because
Okay.
all of the think about it. I spent the 20 hours I have left in Game of Thrones making this podcast better, right?
Yeah, right. You're just out there
I could have
sweating.
been sitting there like Squeex, wasting 20 hours
What are you talking
watching
about, bro? Do not and you, what, so
lazy direction and
you're
bad
planning on
TV.
watching Game of Thrones season 7, and Launders has the gall to tell me he's like, stay tuned for my review next week.
I think I get off on I'm gonna watch it on the plane, so it's gonna be hilarious. I think
Yeah, I guess you'll have a sex
people can
scene with the
rewatch
fucking.
it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, holy shit, this
I don't
guy's
give a fuck.
badass.
You don't
This
want to
guy's
watch
watching
the sex
porn on
scene
fucking Delta.
on somebody else's laptop on the plane?
Oh
Close
my
your eyes. You know what I mean?
Oh, put an eye
Close your
mask on
eyes.
him.
Should have got on my plane.
Wait, you really don't give you would dude, I was so self-conscious, man. When I was in a plane, I was playing fucking Stardew Valley, dude. And
No.
I felt like I had wandering
Well,
eyes,
listen,
you know what I
you were a
mean?
little less self-conscious. Maybe you could have been like that chick with her fucking leg up on the next person's armrest sitting beside you.
Disgusting. Bro, fucking gross.
Unreal. Wait, we
I
had
think
it was open-toed? No, it was like
it was
barefoot.
open-toed. It was barefoot, dude.
Barefoot.
I put a picture on Twitter, Squeex15, of this girl.
Nathan, pull that up.
Pull that up, Nathan. Of this girl who's so I had an aisle seat, and the person on the other aisle, she had her open-toed foot just on the fucking armrest of the person in front of her. And it was
And you know that she doesn't know the person sitting in front of her.
No, she didn't. She didn't. But the worst part was the funny thing that no one commented is the person sitting in front of her was lying down with her feet in the aisle. Like it was just like a fucking zoo, dude. It was a fucking zoo in there. And of course, me, who's like super fucking anal about that shit, I'm just sitting there like with my mouth closed. And I texted a picture. I told my mom who I was sitting next to, and she's like, "Why don't you tell her to put
you're
your
sitting
feet
there
down?"
with your mouth closed? How'd you breathe?
I mean, you're so fucking dumb, dude. Your nose, okay? Checkmate, idiot. But it's just so nasty, dude. They need these etiquette courses or something because that's gross, right? I'm not in the minority here. I mean,
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, you don't have to it feels like there's certain things you don't have to teach people, but maybe we do. Maybe
yeah,
we do.
maybe. But Launder, speaking of teaching people, we do have a follow-up to a voicemail message.
Oh,
was
is it
left
that
to
time of the
us.
night? Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
I've
is.
got that ready to go.
Okay, I'll read it. So here's a follow-up from.
All right, I'll take the lead on this. So
yeah, go ahead. So you follow my lead. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hey,
Here I go.
thanks
The
for
camera's
answering
on
my
me, Nathan.
question on the
Don't switch the
pod.
camera away from me.
And I did actually leave my name in the note.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Now I got a little thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you son of a bitch. No. Okay, here's a follow-up on the voicemail. Nathan, don't switch channels. It's all me. I'm the spotlight. I'm the star. Hey, so this is a follow-up on the voicemail for context. Hey, thanks for answering my question on the pod. I did actually leave my name in the note. Not sure if that went missing. I feel the same about socializing requiring practice. I've always been somewhat shy and solitary, so it makes sense that I have some catching up to do. Also, good point from Squeex on tracking. I write notes about my CS games as well as tracking productive time throughout the day. Though I find that it becomes a chore when you start writing down the same things every day. So here's a follow-up question. How do you set your short-term goals and how do you work towards them when you only know what to improve, but not how? Go ahead, Launders. You just fucking took a vape.
I didn't fucking vape. What do you mean? Are you kidding me? I can do whatever I want, dude. I'm an adult,
You're
all
on
right?
camera, dude. You didn't
myself. I can
respond
vape
because
in my
your
own
smoke
free
is coming
time.
out of your fucking nose.
Let me
We're
be
having a show
myself.
on
This
here,
is
man.
unreal, dude. I can't even have a time to myself. Even when you're
this is
there
some
trying to steal the spotlight,
responsibility, dude. The
reading
fact
by
that I'm showing
yourself,
up
I can't
day
hit a
after day,
fucking
and
fat
you
vape
fucking
rip.
vaping? Go ahead.
I like the question, and Nemo, thank you for the question last week. I appreciate that, man. I think it was good. It sparked some good conversation. What?
Go ahead, respond.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It's just you're so fucking annoying sometimes, man. I'm sorry.
I don't really know how to respond to that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Don't worry. Go ahead.
So the follow-up question, in case you just got a little bit distracted near the end, how do you set your short-term goals and how do you work towards them when you only know what to improve but not how? That's an interesting one. I don't know. Setting short-term goals. We probably have different approaches to this. This should be good. But I think I work in bursts, and I have nebulous long-term goals that I'm like, I kind of want to do this like over a certain period of time, and then I've got like 4 things that I want to do tomorrow. So if I need to like write scripts for videos or do stuff, prep for meetings or do podcasts or do demo reviews for casting or something like that, I'm like, do I have time tomorrow? And then I just do as many of those things as possible. And I find that list will always replenish itself, but at the same time will never get too long. Like there's only a certain amount of things that I feel like you're going to want to do in the next day or two, and that you can squeeze them in and do them. You have enough time in the day. And the best way to maximize that time before you get to that day where you don't have anything to do is just to like say the night before, here's all the things I want to get done. And then in the back of your head, I think the main thing is not long-term goals. So I don't really think about long-term goals. I feel like for me, those are hard to latch onto. For me, it's just priorities. Like they're more constant than long-term goals. So for me, I would say like a priority would be like, all right, I really need to make money because my goals are to be able to pay my rent and to be able to buy a place and to do some of these things in the future. Those things I really want to do. So the goal might be to buy a place, but the priority is to make money. And I have a better time thinking about like, oh, I need to make money. Like so that bleeds into every decision as opposed to here are the micro decisions I can make to organize my finances or whatever. Like so I try to just think about my priorities in the back and then I keep all of my short-term goals that bleed into my priorities up front.
Interesting. Yeah, we totally have different strategies, which I think is interesting because we live pretty different lives. So I think I I do a different approach in terms of I don't think it's worth having goals that you have no control over. And for example, I think there's things that are like primary and ancillary goals. Primary goals are things that you have actually can achieve. Like I think there's a lot of apps that are really good for this, or like actually writing shit down that you can do. And I know it's kind of convoluted, but I'll give you a good example in Counter Strike. I think uh, a goal of being pro in 5 years is a bad one because there's so many other factors that are out of your control, like the state of the game, something else, you might just get shit out of luck. But I think a good goal that you can actually have control over is like, okay, my goal is to practice for 6 hours every 5 days a week, or like do something like that, because that's something that you can check off. The being pro will come once you get to that level. It's like the same thing in terms of Launder's example, and we share similar values, but like of achieving money. I think a lot of people with the goal of just getting as much money as they can, it becomes almost suffocating because you don't know, it's not actionable. But if if you have a clear plan and you're like, okay, my goal is to, become really successful in my company, and I'm going to do that by working half an hour every day reading a business book, but focusing on like the daily habits, instead of just focusing on long term. And I think once you have a long term goal in mind, then you can easily break down every day what it takes to achieve that. And if I remember your voicemail last time, it was like having the ability to socialize and to learn that, exercise that muscle. So I think that's exactly what you do. Treat it like going to the gym, like socialize with someone new every day or something like that, because it's something you can attain. And then from there, your socializing goal will start developing. And I think that's sort of like where I find solace is like actually checking shit off of a list is like perfect for me because it feels like I'm achieving something.
Hmm. That's a good soundbite. I like that. I actually read the question slightly incorrectly. So it wasn't more what are how do you think about them? But it was specifically about short-term goals. So it's just how do you set your short-term goals up and how do you work towards them? Um okay, wait, sorry. So it's how do you set your short-term goals up and how do you work towards them when you only know what to improve but not how? So do you understand what he means by that? Like when you only understand what to improve but not how?
Yeah, so that's like my interpretation was like he's asking, he knows what his abstract goal is, which is socializing. So he knows what to improve, but he doesn't know the steps it takes to improve it.
Oh, yeah, to find out how to find out,
Yes,
basically.
exactly. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But I think
Um,
my advice stays the same.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, I think when you're super lost I think when you're super lost and you have time, you should just basically be treading new water. Like, I think a big thing is, like, you're not gonna learn things unless you experience new things. I think, like, somebody who there are certain people who view the world that way, right? Like that your life is a collection of experiences and there's not much else that goes into it, right?
Yeah.
Just like a centaur is the mixture of a human and a horse. There's the argument that everything that we know about is from things that we've seen before. Like goblins are a mixture of all the aliens are a mixture of people and then colors and weird things, but they're all things that we can imagine because we've actually seen them before. And I think that that's important to think about for somebody who is more a realist or looking to try to understand about things that they don't understand yet. Like you can sit there in your room and theory strike your way
Mhm.
through everything, but I think it's really important to open yourself up to more stimuli and more experiences, and then you might learn on the way without your goal being to learn on the way. And that's just that's the bread and butter of life, right? Just to experience as many things as possible, and then from those experiences extrapolate into other wisdoms or different ways of thinking or new perspectives. But those are perspectives that you can't anticipate. So it's not like you can go out with the goal of like learning a specific thing you don't know yet. And I think if you have the time and you're younger, you don't know exactly what you need to do to get better, or you feel like you're at a roadblock or whatever, you need to start increasing the amount of things that you're experiencing. Like that's why people always recommend traveling. That's why
Mhm.
I would always recommend getting jobs, working at new jobs, meeting tons of different people, right? Like people and places are the two things in the world that are going to shock your brain the most, and they're going to teach you a lot and humble you. And those are free in a lot of ways, like in a lot of circumstances, whether it's like going out and getting a new job can even just make you money in the process. Um, but basically throwing yourself out there, because if you spend like 200 days out of 365 days sitting in your room, when that year is over, then that year is going to feel a lot shorter.
Mhm.
And the reason is because you didn't do that much. And now that's not necessarily fair to people who like work at home, like streamers and stuff like that, like, or just the fact that people use their computers, and computers have like an insane amount, like an endless amount of knowledge to like look up, and you can do that. So it's not exactly fair, but we've all been there, right? We've all wasted an entire summer like gaming, or doing the same thing over and over again, smoking weed every day. I've done that a few summers, and those summers feel a lot shorter, and our life is finite. So it's really, I think, really good and important to make yourself like an interesting person, and to have more perspective, and to be able to learn things that you don't understand why you don't know yet.
Yeah.
So just like throw yourself out there.
And I think to add on, I think discomfort is a really important thing to seek as well. When you're trying to learn, like putting yourself in situations where you may feel a little bit off, I think is generally a good thing. And I'm not good at this, but I know like the people who I really look up to have been through a lot and really look to better themselves, like whether it's physical discomfort or it's like socializing in a weird situation. I think a lot of people get anxiousness, but to use that anxiety in a way that allows you to like obviously not be crippled behind your anxiety, but actually push yourself to learn something, I think that's all good. So seeking discomfort and like widening your horizons, I think is a really good positive
Uh,
thing.
That was actually what Nietzsche said. Now, Nietzsche had like a really terrible life and whatever, but he basically just said like you should look to be in the most amount of pain and discomfort in your life as possible, and like that's what builds that's what builds character, and that's what makes you a better, more interesting, and more robust person. Like whether it comes to dealing with adversity in the future, or just understanding more things about the world, like just experiencing that negativity yourself is good. But how do you
Well, it's
expose
like,
yourself? How do you expose yourself to discomfort in a safe way?
well, that's a
Like, do
good
you just,
question.
like, wear a gimp mask and jerk off, or
Oh, I thought, did you say comfort or discomfort? Because that's my shit, homie. I mean, I think exercising is a good one. Where
yeah,
you're,
running?
yeah, running or even lifting weights, man. I think that shit's fucking.
You
I,
don't
I
like
mean,
lifting weights? What are you, beta?
no, I'm saying I love that shit, man. I'm saying like, why am I so insecure? Why do I have to? Why can't I just say no? I don't. No, but I'm saying like, just imagine like you wouldn't develop any muscle unless you were sore. It's like the same shit, emotional muscle and all that shit, where it's discomfort at front, and then but you start gaining in terms of like muscles. It's the same shit with emotions too. Like I know the Stoics, they're also a big like proponent in seeking adversity or
Mhm,
practicing sadness or practicing pain, so that
mhm.
when that shit does happen, you don't go into this comatose state. Like you're like, oh, I recognize this.
I already have nothing.
Yeah, no, hold on.
Kind of, no, kind of.
It's not already, yeah, like it's not necessarily already have nothing. It's just like, oh, I understand what I'm going through, and I know my inclination is to be really sad, and I'm going to feel that sadness in its fullest force, but I know I'm going to recover from this, because
Mhm.
we share emotion with our ancestors, right? Like no amount of sadness or no amount of torture or whatever is like unique or new. As you were saying, ideas are built off of other ideas. It's the same thing with our emotional depth, right? It all comes from somewhere. And like, I remember my first breakup was fucking devastating.
Oh my
right?
God.
It's fucking the end of your world. And I think it's important for everyone to go through a breakup, like a very bad, big one, because it's the most earth-shattering thing ever. And then like a few
You always
years
become better.
later, you become better. Yeah, you're like, oh, like I'm
Oh, it
still
feels
okay.
bad though. Yeah.
It's the end of the world. It's the
I
worst
still
shit
remember
ever.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, or like your first crush is so fucking intense, right? Like it's like a lot, but
I love her.
yeah, I would die for her. It's like 4th grade. You're like, relax, dude.
Susie,
Like,
you can't just walk out of a drive-in movie.
She has a 64 Crayola crayon box. I love her. Like it's fucking, but it feels so real, right? It's the same thing. Like right now, is things feel like in our head, more severe than we actually think. So you can lose all of your possessions and you can lose your job, and it feels like the end of the world, but it's not. The end of the world is an inevitable death, and that's just the reality, right?
Oh,
So
that's a good place to end. Am I right?
we're all gonna die. Hey. But that's how I think. But
it's true. It's funny though, like that's always like a morbid thing to talk about, but then it's like at the same time, like it's also understood that if you lived forever, nothing would be that great, right?
yeah, you're borrowing everything, man, even your body.
So, but from who is the question, right?
From God. Right. Yeah. From ideas past, right? There's no new
Yeah.
ideas. There's nothing new. It's everything is a derivative of something else. So it's like just to enjoy the ride as much as you can is basically it. Try
Yeah,
to learn
but
the most.
dude, did you see our fucking Indians sent something out into space and then like it
Oh
got
God.
they said they tried to land something on the moon and it got like they lost connection with it like 20 feet before it touched the surface.
Yeah, I saw that. Hey, at
We're
least we're
never getting
trying.
that back.
At least we're trying.
Like anything that leaves the Earth's orbit will never become part of the Earth again, right? I mean, we already complain about like waste and stuff on the Earth and how everything's finite resources, but like
Yeah.
everything gets recycled into the Earth for the most part. Like if you shoot it into space, you're not getting it back, man.
That's fucking weird. That's weird to think about. But Earth is from space, so it's like the foundation of Earth is from space. So
You're right. We need a meteor to hit us
yeah. What?
so we can have more
I didn't
stuff.
say that. Hold on. Don't say you're right and then say the most outlandish statement. Right? 'Cause
Absolutely agree 100%.
That's fucked up.
So,
No.
what's like speaking about or what's the way that what's your preferred method of watching the major while you're at work?
How dare you? How dare you assume? So what I do So what I do here is I think people at work think I've irritable bowel syndrome, you know. Well, I do have an upset tummy sometimes, but I don't watch the whole major at work. Maybe I'll catch glimpses. I'll look at my phone once or twice.
No, you said you watched the whole best.
Okay, hold on now. I didn't know this was an interrogation room, officer. Okay,
I was
I didn't
proud of you,
realize.
man.
No, I watch that shit. I got to keep up, man. Yeah, I work 10+ hour days, but I want to make sure I'm, up to date with the kids, the memes, the Fortnite dances. I want to make sure I'm on top of it, for this fucking show.
It's not
So,
working, man. It's not working.
what the hell? That's just rude. It's working. See, I told you, I said pawn.
So what is it? Like second monitor, a little iPad, or
No, I have my phone. I got
phone
my
in the bathroom?
Yeah, phone in the bathroom, or like sometimes I'll be like, do one of these where you just like look down really quick, catch a round or two,
Check
and be
the
like,
score bot.
go on HLTV, just refresh that shit, dude. I've been there.
Just
I fucking
know
love
if the market's down, it's because Squeex is watching the major.
No, that's not true. Don't blame me, okay? Don't blame me, because when the market's doing well, nobody says shit.
No one says
The second
shit.
something happens, everyone's like fucking Squeex.
Yeah. He's basically the president.
Yeah, pretty much, but I don't want to brag, but yeah, I guess so.
Cool. Is there anything else that we should have talked about that we didn't talk about?
No, I think we hit all corners of it, man. We talked about cat poop and everything. I
Yeah.
just want to thank the people who are listening to this live on twitch.tv/Launders. And thank you for listening to it at home from Anchor, wherever, Spotify, whatever you listen to this from.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thank you so much. Do you say thank you to Nathan already?
No, fuck that guy. Are you kidding me? Like,
Kinda
this
right
is all
there,
us.
but-
This is all my production, man.
Okay,
What do you
listen,
mean?
dude. I don't want to have to run the production. We were here. You were here with me last week, all right? You haven't had to do it
Oh my
yourself. You just don't understand. You're the kid that goes to Wonderland but doesn't understand how the money comes in to afford that trip, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably
None of
true.
this is held together without Nathan.
All I'm saying, Launders, is I'm waiting for my podcast paycheck, and it seems like Nathan's making a lot of fucking purchases recently. So,
See this mic arm kid.
yeah. Holy
This is
shit,
pretty-
Nathan bought a boat?
That's weird.
That's so strange. That's such a weird coincidence.
All right. Well, go drink your cat poop.
will.
Well, anybody can you can purchase stuff on the store.box.gg. We don't have any sponsors yet. We kind of do a good job of having different opinions on every single brand, so there's not a single brand that we're marketable towards.
That's true.
But hopefully one day we'll find a common ground, and then ring them for everything they're worth.
That's right.
Yeah, but for the meantime, you can purchase something. Purchase clothes on store.box.gg. We're gonna have new stuff coming out soon.
Exciting.
Very soon, actually. Yeah, we've got pretty big stuff in the works. A lot of new stuff for Boxer, which is really cool. Squeex is a part of it as well, which is awesome. And I think that's it. You can catch this on Twitch at twitch.tv/Launders. It'll upload to YouTube, youtube.com/CSBOXR. And you can follow us on Twitter at Launders and at Squeex15.
Mhm.
And Squeex, he's streaming live right now.
No, I'm not.
Twitch.tv/Squeex15.
Oh, wait. Yeah. For the ones who are listening to it at home. Yeah. Squeex15. Follow me on Twitch. I appreciate it. I notice you followers coming in and saying nice things. I always appreciate that. My ego is fragile. So only say nice things or I will cry myself to sleep. Also follow Nathan on Twitch, twitch.tv/NTHN. He also streams a lot. He's live right now.
Peace.
Thanks for listening.